The season 1 finale of Ren the Girl with a Mark is a really good example of how some quite impressive visual effects can be created in really quite a low-tech manner, just shooting elements in the backyard and cobbling them together to create this key moment where Ren saves her brother Bainan from the Kanath. You can use similar techniques in your own films, and in this video I'm going to explain how we did it and how you can do something similar yourself. It's always important to start with as much in camera as possible when you're doing any kind of visual effect. We've got a smoke machine going here, and we've got a wind machine going as well. So we've got lots of stuff happening practically in the frame already. Kate then went and created this previs herself to show the kind of movement and this idea of a hurricane around Ren. This is a really good way, there's so many stock footage libraries out there now, a really good way of just kind of building a quick previs to show people on your team what you want to do. Okay, so how do we go about turning this into the actual final visual effect? Basically, we went out into the back garden one night, we set up some black drapes and some backlight, and we shot debris, grass cuttings, bits of straw blowing in front of camera from a fan. We dropped things. This is porridge oats. Kate's just dropping in front of camera here.
Working a tour or just wasting porridge? Okay.
We ran a smoke machine as well, making sure to keep the light on the thing and off the background, so it's just a pure black background. And also water. We sprayed a hose pipe in front of the camera, and you might be thinking, well, where's the water in that sequence? Well, I'll explain how we use that in a minute. So, how do we actually use this? Well, let's take an example. Let's take the smoke, because the smoke's nice and easy to see. Now, if I just drop that on top of our element of Ren, obviously you can't see anything of Ren underneath. So I'm going to change the compositing mode to add. Now, I'm a dinosaur, I'm still using Final Cut 7, but whatever editing software or effects software you use, somewhere there's going to be a menu like this, a list of compositing modes. And if you're familiar with Photoshop, you'll have seen them in that as well. And I'm going to choose Add. And what that does is it adds the brightness of one shot to the brightness of the other. So the black areas from the smoke element, they have no brightness, so they don't change the background at all. The white areas have a lot of brightness, so they're added to the brightness of Ren underneath, and you can see she's actually starting to blow out a bit because of the combined brightness there. And then everything in between blends nice and subtly in. Straight away, you get a much more convincing key than you ever would off blue screen. You know, something like smoke, it's kind of semi-transparent. If you shoot it in front of a green screen, it's just going to blend into the green, and it's going to be a nightmare to take a clean key off it. If you shoot it in front of a black screen and use add mode, you get the effect straight away. What else can I use? Let's have a look at some of this porridge being dropped here. Let's just take a little bit of that, and again I'll just put it on top of Ren here and change the composite mode to add, and straight away you've got stuff dropping in front of her. Now, when you start to do this with solid objects, it doesn't work as well. Everything becomes a bit semi-transparent, but I find that if you've got a lot of motion blur, things are moving quickly through the frame, then you can get away with it. You know, if you tried to do this with a person, they would look like a ghost, which might be an effect you want to use, but for this we want stuff to look fairly realistic and solid where it should be. And if I turn the opacity down, I often find that that makes the compositing work better as well. The other thing you can do is you can subtract, and this is where the rain comes in. Actually, the water from the hose pipe. If I put that on top and go to add mode, obviously it just looks like we're spraying water all over her. But what if I go to subtract mode? Subtract is, of course, the opposite of add, so it's going to take away the brightest areas, and they're going to become black. Again, the black background that we shot against remains invisible because black has a brightness of 0, so if you subtract 0 from anything, it's the same as before, so Ren's element underneath is unchanged. So we've got immediately this kind of black spray, which we're using as kind of wind or grit or dust, and obviously it looks kind of fake at the moment, but we reduce the opacity right down, and we actually blew this up quite a bit as well. Very, very quickly with this technique, you can get some visual effects really working. And these shots of the crowd, exactly the same thing. So I can take my debris element here, set it to add. Immediately we've got bits of debris flying past, and then that's dirt, so let's subtract that. And again, we've got a layer of swirling dirt at the bottom. Probably best if we take the opacity right down. No messing around with keys, cleaning up edges and all that kind of thing. It's really, really quick and easy. Here's another interesting example. We had this shot near the end of the sequence where the soldier falls over, and the idea is that her powers have blown out his torch. And I think we tried to do this with the wind machine, getting the wind machine to actually blow his torch out in the shot. Never really worked, so we ended up with the torch only smoking. So, again, went out into the garden one night. We didn't even put up black drapes this time, and we just fixed a torch to a C-stand and lit it. So again, I'm going to go composite mode, add, and immediately, oh, his knee's on fire. That's not what we want, so let's line this up. I can just kind of tweak this and go, yeah, maybe I want it a little bit bigger. I want to rotate that a little bit. Line the two things up. I'm going to put a little bit of a Gaussian blur on it because he's out of focus, so just to match that, I'll just blur this slightly. And then I'm going to have to keyframe that as he moves, but it's so few frames, shouldn't take long to do. There, there, maybe shrink it down a little bit to there, 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 and let's say it's gone out by that point. There you go. And you can see the edge a little bit. But basically, that's the effect. Probably what I'd do is I would also just crush the black slightly. So I'd go in here, because you are seeing the edge there. Probably just go in and crush the blacks on the background element, and straight away that gets rid of that edge. This is the final effect. We also added, again, the kind of dirt element that was actually the hose pipe. So next time you need to create a visual effect for your project, be it a fantasy epic or sci-fi or whatever it is you're making, if you need something to be fiery or smoky or watery, or you've got elements of debris that are kind of whizzing past, or anything that doesn't need to be solid, really think about whether it's worth shooting it against black, hanging up black drapes, doing it in a back garden at night, really making sure you spotlight the subject in front of that black drape, and you can really quickly build up effects just by using that composite mode add or composite mode subtract in whatever your editing or visual effects software of choice is. Good luck with your own projects. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to see new episodes of Ren the Girl with a Mark, don't just sit there, you need to sign up to our mailing list at rentheseries.com/renew. The more people who sign up to the mailing list, the bigger support we have, the greater chance we have of reaching our Kickstarter goal and of actually getting season 2 made. Do it.